Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Inshallah, going on with our lessons bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. We find that we have in our seminar today bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, inshallah, we expect that we are going through in a nice way, in an ordered way, and there is no very much rushing here. So now inshallah from 11 to 12 bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, inshallah, we are going to go on now with part 9b. As we know that part 9 here we are talking about the miracle of the Quran, and we find that part 9a we discussed about the introduction and example miracle that were given to prophets, and inshallah we were just touching upon the Quran as a miracle, and we found that we would not be able to finish within that time, and that's why bi'idhnillahi ta'ala we have extended and we have taken the time now to go on right now so that we can finish up with this topic right now. So you can see that in PowerPoint here we are in that fourth slide, and here it has the topic is written in the Quran as a miracle, and we know that we have mentioned already what a miracle is, and now inshallah I want to go directly to this challenge. Now inshallah, before even I start, we have to mention the fact that what and why there is a challenge. What and why there is a challenge? Because of the fact that many of the people, they think that when there is a challenge, then you find that the challenge, it is only defendable on the fact that this challenge, it is only for maybe why the challenge is there, and we find that also this topic, the challenge, I think so we talked about in Tafseer lesson 21. If you go back in our YouTube channel and also in Mixcloud, you can find that we have that audio, and also we have the video in the YouTube. So that topic we mentioned about the challenge from Allah to mankind, or the challenge to the mankind from Allah. This challenge, it was in the topic, as we mentioned, who wrote the Quran, and we mentioned I think so in a summarized method. But tonight inshallah, today inshallah bi'idhnillahi, we're going to go very much deeply into this point. And we have to know that seminar, it is not usually a detailed structure, but alhamdulillah, Dawah group, it has organized we want to make it different, and that's why we make it detailed a little bit, so that to show that the seminar, we don't just talk, and we don't do some of the in-depth discussion. It's very important to do some of the in-depth topics into it. We have to understand and we have to discuss about the in-depth of it. So as you mentioned that what a miracle is, and we define that. Now we have to know that the challenge that to reproduce that Quran, it was presented to the Arabs and the mankind in 3 stages. And now inshallah we want to start the first stage. You can see that in that PowerPoint. The first stage here, it is the whole Quran. Now this whole Quran, we find that in the Quran, Allah Azza Jal, He commanded the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to challenge all of the creation to create a book of the stature of the Quran. To create a book of the stature of the Quran. That challenge, it is mentioned in the glorious Quran. If we go to Surah Al-Isra, so alhamdulillah, I can see that in the PowerPoint we have written here Q1788, and this is now where you find that this challenge is mentioned. Q17, it is Surah Al-Isra, chapter number 17 and verse number 88. And if you go to that surah, alhamdulillah, please, also very much important is that within your hand you should also have a Quran. This is very much important, so that also you can see what we are reciting here from the glorious Quran. So it says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قل لا إن اجتمعت الإنس والجن على أن يأتوا بمثل هذا القرآن لا يأتون بمثله ولو كان بعضهم لبعض ظهيرا. In this verse, you find that Allah is mentioning one of the very much important thing of a challenge, here that, Kul say that if all the mankind, the jinn, they will come together and to reproduce the like of the Quran, they could not reproduce its like, even though they exerted all their strength in aiding one another, even though they helped one another. So Allah Azza Jal is mentioning here a very important thing, that even these people, they are given the challenge, and we have to know that a challenge, it is usually for two purposes here in the Quran. But also we find that when happens that when you see that there's a debate, and an example of a very famous debate and a very fantastic debate that I saw, it was between Anis Shuros versus Ahmad Didat, in about the fact about that is Jesus God. And it was a very interesting debate. I don't know if you have seen it, but you find that here Anis Shuros is the one who debated, who came and he said that I want to debate with you, with Ahmad Didat directly. He said like that. And you find that he put very much difficult rules for Ahmad Didat. But alhamdulillah, you find that if you have seen that video clip, it was a very big one. I think so. It was for about 4 hours. It was very much nice. But alhamdulillah, you find that very much of the challenge that was given by this Anish Shirosh, who was a doctor himself, and together also being doctor, he was a professor now. He learned a lot of things in Christianity, and he tried to put a lot of concept. And the fact that he also is the one also he learned also many of the Quran. So he challenged Ahmad Didat, Sheikh Ahmad Didat, and you find that that challenge, it is really very much interesting that Ahmad Didat, he accepted the challenge in anyhow, in any way. He didn't have any problem. And they find that this is the way a Dai, he should be accepting such debates. When you find that they're trying to blame the daughter, the son of Mary alayhi salatu wassalam. So it's very much important to find that Nabi Isa alayhi salatu wassalam is one of the prophet of Allah Jal, and is not God. And this type of debate, when it comes, we need a person who knows also Christianity, and he knows more about the comparative religion, so that they can debate in a better way. And that debate, it was nice one, alhamdulillah, shukrillah, because it was a challenge, you can see. Now here there's a challenge mentioned. Anish Shiroz gave a challenge to Sheikh Ahmad Didat. Now together here you can see that there's a challenge here mentioned in the Quran. What does the Quran say? The Quran, it is saying that قُلْ لَا إِنِ اجْتَمَعْتِ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ عَلَىٰ أَنْ يَأْتُوا بِمِثْلِ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ لَا يَأْتُونَ بِمِثْلِ وَلَوْ كَانَ بَعْضُهُمْ لِبَعْضٍ ظَهِيرًا. A very important thing is mentioned here. That if all this mankind and the jinn, even all of this, they come together to produce the like of this Quran. The Quran, alhamdulillah, is a book, that they could not produce its like, even though they exerted all their strength in aiding one another. They put all their strength in aiding one another to create a book like the Quran. They will not be able to create such a book. They will not be able to create such a book. And that is what Allah is mentioning in the Quran. And this shows us the fact that Allah is challenging the mankind to do what? To produce the like of this Quran. So that's the first challenge, alhamdulillah, we are mentioning here. And again, also we have to remember that the Quran, it gives challenges for two reasons. The Quran, it gives this type of challenge for two reasons. Alhamdulillah, first of the reason I've already talked about when I did in Tafseer lesson number 21. I talked about it. And what is that? I mentioned the fact that this challenge that was given by Allah, it is because of two reasons. One of the reasons is for the fact that the Quran, the author is Allah. That was the reason that why this challenge came. To show the fact that even if all the mankind they came to produce the like of this Quran, they could not produce it. Why? Because the author of this Quran is unique, and you all mankind, even if you come all together, you cannot be compared with the uniqueness of Allah, because Allah is very much superior, very much great. That's why I say Allahu Akbar. Very much important thing to mention here. And talking about that, also we find that Allah why He put this challenge is to show the miracle of this Quran, that even if all the people they came together to produce the like of this Quran, they cannot produce it, because the Quran in itself, it is unique, and it is a miraculous book from Allah that was given to Prophet Muhammad through Angel Jibreel alayhi. So again, this shows us the fact that the challenge here to produce the like of this Quran, it is of two reasons. First is to show that the Quran, the author is Allah, and the Quran is a miraculous book from Allah that was given to Prophet Muhammad We got the if you go back to our PowerPoint, alhamdulillah, you'll find that the number 2 is the surahs. 10 surahs, sorry. 10 surahs. And what does that mean? That is what the next challenge it came. And Allah He make the challenge extensible now, and a little bit very much easier, by asking those who denied its divine origin to imitate even 10 surahs of the Quran, to imitate 10 surahs of Quran. And we can see that it is mentioned in Q1113 here in PowerPoint. I can see it, Q1113. That means in Surah Hud, chapter number 11, and the verse is number 13. So it says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أم يقولون افتراه قل فأتوا بعشر سور مثله مفتريات وادعوا من استطعتم من دون الله إن كنتم صادقين. So this was inshallah, Allah is mentioning again a very much important point. And the point here is that or do they say that he has invented it? And here it's mentioning the fact that the time of that people they're saying that the Prophet ﷺ is the one who invented it. And you find that Allah is saying that say O Muhammad ﷺ to them that bring 10 invented surahs like it and call for help on whomever you can beside Allah if you are truthful. So Allah again is mentioning here the fact that this Quran, it is unique. Allah is giving you a challenge, that if you think that this Quran has been invented by a person or by Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, then Allah is giving you a challenge that bring just 10 surahs which are similar like it, and you can call anyone for help. You can call the jinn, the mankind for help. But it should be beside Allah if you are truthful. And you find that again this challenge it has not been able to complete. That time there were some of the people, they tried to create, they tried it. But you find that people, they saw that, they are trying to create something similar to the Quran, but it was not even similar to it. So you find that the fact that the Quran is unique, again, this challenge, it gives us the fact that, again, two things here. The fact this Quran, the author is Allah Jalla, is not an invented one. It is not something that has been written by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it is from Allah Jalla, the origin. It is from Allah Azza wa Jal. And another thing is the fact that you find that this Quran is, again, it is truth. It is a truthful book, and in which you find that you can learn a lot of things which are very much important and beneficial for the people, for mankind, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Then we go to the last challenge that was mentioned. That is the final challenge. You can say that here mentioned is one surah, and one surah here, it is saying here that that there was a final challenge, and this was to produce just a single surah to match what is in the Quran. And we have to find that the shortest surah is which one? Which is the shortest surah? The shortest surah, it is Surah Al-Kawthar, yeah? And we find that the Surah Al-Kawthar it consists of just 3 verses. And where is this challenge being mentioned? As you can see in the PowerPoint, alhamdulillah, it is mentioned in Q2 23. That means it in Surah Baqarah, chapter number 2, and the verse number 23. It says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإن كنتم في ريب مما نزلنا على عبدنا فأتوا بسورة من مثله وادعوا شهداءكم من دون الله إن كنتم صادقين. So in this very interesting verse of Surah Al-Baqarah, it mentioned the fact that, and if you all you are in doubt about what I have revealed to my servant, that is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, bring just a single surah like it and call your witnesses besides Allah Jal if you are truthful. And again, find that this thing and these challenges, we find that they are not just empty words with no one caring to prove them wrong. And we find that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam called to Tawheed, that is monotheism, that is to worship Allah Azza Jalla alone, and to the abolition of this idolatry, and to the what we call the banning of this idolatry in all of its form. And also another thing that the Prophet Muhammad was to call people is to the equality of slaves and their masters, threatened the whole socio-economic framework of this Meccan society in general, and the position of the ruling Qurayshi tribe from which the Prophet he came in particular. So again here we find that when we look at these challenges, and is very much important that the challenges that are being mentioned in the Quran, it is not just like that. There's a purpose in it, and we find that in learning the Tafseer of the Quran, one may be asking, how is this important? And we say to that person, that my brother or my sister, you find that the Quran, when we come to learn it, we need to learn all depth of it. All depth of it. We cannot just come and say one or two words and define maybe Ikra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, and then we go on. That is a good way, there's no bad way in that, but we find that we want to put in a structural way. When we find that there is a verse in the Quran, like here we talk about in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter number 2, and the verse here, which is number 23. So you have to understand that why this verse was there. It was giving the Quraysh tribe a challenge. And you find that the people at that time also, they try to prove, this wrong. They try to prove this Quran wrong. And because of the fact that, why did they try to prove it wrong? Because of the fact that the people of that Quraysh tribe, we find that they were people who were worshipping idols, and they were associating partners with Allah Jal, and they say that the slaves, they don't have right with the master. That means now the slaves, sometimes they're not given money, and they are not freed. But you find that the Prophet ﷺ, when he came, he wanted to call them people, this Quraysh tribe, to a very important thing, which is now Tawheed. And Tawheed is something which is very much important in everyone's life. And I find in the Quran every time mention that we need to leave the shirk, we need to worship Allah Jalla alone. And this is every time mentioned in the Quran, that we should not be like those people who are mushrikeen, who are kuffar, who are trying to displease Allah Jalla. So that is very much important. That's why the Prophet ﷺ, his main job, and also other prophets, their main job, it was to call people to Tawheed, call people to worship Allah Jalla alone. And also the fact that the Quran, this Quran is something that the people at that time, or the Quraysh time, and the society, we find that they didn't want to take the message of monotheism, and that is why they try to defame it and try to say that this is not the word of Allah Jal, and say that is the word of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and you find that that is not true. Find that the Quran itself, it is the word of Allah Jal. And we have to know that also the fact that Makkah, which was the trading center of Arabia, and as well as it was the spiritual center, it desperately wanted to stop that spread of Islam. And when it saw that the Prophet ﷺ was spreading Islam a lot, and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he was spreading Islam around Makkah, so they wanted to stop it. And yet all that the Prophet's opponents, they had to do was to crush the movement, was to make up a single surah, like any one of those which the Prophet ﷺ and his followers are reciting to the people. And a number of these orators and poets, they tried to imitate the Quran, but they failed. So you find that that was the movement of the Quraysh people, and what was their fact is that they were enemy of the Prophet ﷺ, and they want to crush, to stop that movement. So to stop the movement, what they did is that they tried to make up a single surah, which is like any one of those which the Prophet ﷺ and the followers, they were reciting to that people, and that is the Quran. And you find that the number of these Quraysh orators, they tried all over and all over again, and even the poets, they tried to imitate the Quran, but you find that they failed, and they then resorted to offering him vast amount of wealth and the position of king over them, and the most noble and beautiful of the women, in exchange for his promise to stop inviting people to Islam. And we find that the Prophet ﷺ, he responded to them by reciting the first 13 verses of Surah Fussilat until they asked him to stop. And this one, it is collected by Al-Hakim and Al-Bayhaqi and also Abu Ya'la and Ibn Hisham, and it was declared Hasan by Ibrahim Al-Ali in Sahih As-Sirah and Nabawiyah. So what were these first 13 verses of Surah Fussilat said to them? Surah Fussilat, it is in chapter number 41, and it started by saying Hamim Tanzilun Minar Rahmanir Rahim Kitabun Fussilat Ayatuhu Qur'anan Arabiyan Liqawmin Ya'lamun. Hamim, and it goes on and says that this is a revelation from Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, a book whereof you'll find that the verses are explained in detail, and it is in Arabic for the people who know. This Quran is in Arabic for the people who know. And then it goes on and mention that Bashiran wa Nadhiran fa'arada aktharuhum fahum la yasma'un, giving glad tidings of the paradise to the one who believes in Islam and fears Allah Azza, and warning of the punishment of the hellfire for those people who disbelieve, but most of them they turn away, so they hear it not. وَقَالُوا قُلُوبُنَا فِي أَقِينَةٍ مِمَّا تَدْعُونَا إِلَيْهِ وَفِي آذَانِنَا وَقْرٌ وَمِن بَيْنِنَا وَبَيْنِكَ حِجَابٌ فَأْمَلْ إِنَّنَا آمِلُونَ. And they say that our hearts, they are under coverings that is screened from that to which you invite to us, and in our ears is deafness, and between us and you is a screen. So walk you on your way, verily we are walking on our way. Kul innama ana basharun mithlukum yuha ilayya annama ilahukum ilahun wahidun fastaqimu ilayhi wastaghfiru wa wailun lil mushrikeen. Say, O Muhammad ﷺ, that I am only a human being like you, and it is revealed to me that your God is Allah Jal, and is only one, and therefore take straight path to Him, and obedience to Him, and seek forgiveness of Him, and woe to those al-mushrikun. And then Allah Jal mentioned ahead that alladhina la yu'tuna az-zakata wa hum bil akhirati hum kafirun. Those who give not this zakat, and they are disbelievers in the hereafter. In ladina amanu wa amilu salihati lahum ajrun ghayru mamnun. Here it says that truly those who believe Allah Azza and in Islam, that is, and they do righteous good deeds, for them will be an endless reward that will never stop, that is in our paradise. Then it says, Qul أَإِنَّكُمْ لَتَكْفُرُونَ بِالَّذِي خَلَقَ الْأَرْضَ فِي يَوْمَيْنِ وَتَجْعَلُونَ لَهُ أَنْدَادًا ذَلِكَ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Say, O Muhammad ﷺ, do you verily disbelieve in Him who created the earth in 2 days, and you set up rivals in worship with Him, that is the Lord of the Alameen? And then to mention that وَجَعَلَ فِيهَا رَوَاسِيَ مِنْ فَوْقِهَا وَبَرَكَ فِيهَا وَقَدَرَ فِيهَا أَقْوَاتَهَا فِي 4 أَيَّامٍ سَوَاءً لِلسَّائِلِينَ. He placed there in the earth firm mountains from above it, and He places it and measured therein His sustenance in 4 days equal for all those who ask about in creation. And ثم استوى إلى السماء وهي دخان فقال لها وللأرض ائتيا طوعا أو كرها قالتا آتينا طائعين. Then he rose over, that is istawa, towards the heaven when it was smoke, and said to it and to the earth, come both of you willingly or unwillingly, and they both said, we come willingly. And again I find that it goes ahead and it mentions the other verses also, and we find that the verses here that were recited to the people of Quraysh, you find that the first 13 verses and just recited 11 of the verses, where there is also another one that mentioned. So mostly of the fact that these verses, they were talking on about the fact that we should worship again Allah alone, and also the fact that this Quran is from Allah, and the Quran, it is Arabic, and it has been explained in a detailed manner. Also another thing, we find that it has been mentioned here, it is mentioned also about the fact that paradise is for which type of people and the hellfire is for which type of people. Also it mentioned the fact that Allah's mentioned here the fact that their hearts on those people, you find that when they hear the verse of the Quran, still they cannot have an effect into it, and this is because their heart they are screened from that to which you invite to us. And find also their ears, there is deafness, and you find that between the righteous people and those type of disbelievers, there is a screen again. And also you find that also Allah just mentioned the fact that the Prophet ﷺ is only a human being, and his work or his job is to convey the message and to teach people about Islam, the straight path. And also he taught to teach people the fact that we should ask Allah for forgiveness, and also we should obey Allah, and also the fact that we should not follow al-mushrikun, and also talked about the zakat here a little bit. Also he talked about again shirk, the fact that we should only we should believe in Allah alone, and also we should be doing righteous good deeds, and for them people they'll have paradise. And also you find that it mentioned again here the creation. Now it started now talk about the creation of the earth, which was done in 2 days, and you find that Allah is mentioning his greatness when he created the heaven and the earth. And also you find that when he mentioned that he created that he completed and he finished from that creation of the 7 heavens in 2 days, and he made in each heaven its affair. And also you find that he created for them the stars. Okay, so this is a surah which have been mentioned to the people, and also it has been mentioned about the fact that there is a torment that happened to the people of Ad and Thamud because of disbelieving in Allah Azza, for the punishment that was given to them. So you find that again the fact that this Surah Fussilat, the first 13 verses was said to those people, and they told Prophet Muhammad to stop. And you find that the Quraysh, they also resorted to torturing also their slaves and relatives who had embraced Islam in a vain attempt to cause them to revert to paganism. So this was another torture that was given by the Quraysh people, and they gave this torture to those people who converted to Islam, whether they are relatives or you find that they were their slaves. So they try to torture them so that to revert to paganism. And later also they find that this Quraysh tribe, Quraysh people, they organize an economic boycott against the Prophet ﷺ, his followers, and the members of his clan, the Banu Hashim, in an attempt to starve them into submission. But even this plan eventually failed, and finally they plotted to kill the Prophet ﷺ in his home by sending the armed young men from each of the clans of Quraysh in order that the guilt of his murder be shared, be shared by all the clans, making revenge by the Prophet's clan impossible. So this was what was done to the people who believed in Tawheed, to the people who they tried to follow the deen of Islam. They were tortured, they were tried to be killed in order to cause them to return back to paganism. But you find that their plan failed, and that's why they plotted to kill now the Prophet ﷺ. And also you find that plan also failed. However, Allah He enabled the Prophet ﷺ and his followers now to flee Mecca, and that is now what it really came because of the fact that they needed to do hijrah because of the torture of the Quraysh people, and that's why Allah commanded them to flee Mecca and join a new band of converts who had arisen among the tribes of a city to the north, which was called Yathrib. And this Islam, it spread rapidly through that clans of Yathrib, and within a year Muslim they became the city's majority, and Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was then made the ruler, and the name of city was changed to Medina. And that Yathrib, it was Medina. So over the next 8 years, the clan of this Makkah, the neighboring lands, they mounted a series of unsuccessful battle campaigns against the emerging Muslim state in Medina, which ended with the Muslim invasion of Makkah itself. And all of this bloodshed could have been avoided if only the Quraysh and their allies, they had been able to produce a mere 3 lines of poetry or flowing prose similar to the shortest surah of the Qur'an, and hence there can be no doubt that the inimitability of the Qur'an literary style about the miracle of its rhyme and the marvel of its rhythm. So I can say that this all happened in order to challenge the Qur'an, but they are not able to, and that's why they brought all of these things against the Prophet ﷺ, and they find that they are not able still to accomplish their tasks. And you find that there is no doubt the fact that these people of Quraysh, they are not able to create even 3 lines of poetry or flowing prose, which is similar to the shortest surah of the Quran. And hence you find that there is no person who can imitate the Quran's literary style, or even its rhyme, or even its rhythm. Nobody can do it because it is different and it is unique in a way. Okay. Again, this showing that the miracle of the Quran. So also we find that it has been suggested that the inimitability of the Quran, it is not necessarily unique for the great English poets like Shakespeare or Chaucer or great poets in any language. They tend to have distinctly unique styles which set them apart from their contemporaries. However, if for example some leading poet of today, they were to make an in-depth study of Shakespeare's writing and write a sonnet in Shakespeare's style in old ink and old paper, then claimed that he had discovered a lost poem of Shakespeare's, the literal world would probably accept this claim even after careful study, and thus even the greatest of poets could be imitated, and no matter how unique his style was, just as the famous people they have been imitated. And this one, it can be found in fact also you find that some English scholars they consider much of what has been attributed to Shakespeare to have been written by his contemporary Christopher Marlowe. And that is why you find that the Quran, however, it is way above this level, and we have to understand that as attempts to forge the chapters they have been made throughout the ages, yet none has withstood close scrutiny. And as was mentioned, as we mentioned before, the incentive to imitate the Quran was more intense during the time of its revelation, when the literary skill they were at their peak than at any other time, yet there were no successful attempt to that. So you find that we have mentioned many important things, and first of all I want to just mention the fact that the Quran, it has its style which is very much unique from any other book, and the fact that the Quran, it is unique in that way, it shows that no one can be able to imitate it in any way. And for the fact that it has different rhyme, it has different rhythm, and its way flowing prose is unique in any way, and when you recite it you find that it becomes again a different way, a different method, a different fantastic way that people that recite. That's why you find that we have Qaris and the others who we find that they recite the Quran in the way that is best, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala. Together with that also, we don't forget the fact that people, they have tried to imitate the Quran. They've tried to change its sentences and some of its surahs, but we find that they have not been able to do it, because of the fact that we know there is a difference between the Quran and the other books. Okay, we know that there's a difference between the Quran and the other books. Inshallah, I will want to go back to our PowerPoint, and when we go back to our PowerPoint, we find that there is another thing mentioned there, and that is other aspects of Quran's miraculous nature, and that will be our last topic for this alhamdulillah, this time, that is from 11 to 12. Okay, and I find alhamdulillah we have taken a lot of our time in discussing it, so now it is 11:43, which is again unique in a way that we expected to do a lot. But alhamdulillah, there's no worrying that we go ahead and we have to mention so we go back to that PowerPoint. We find that there are other aspects of the Quran's miraculous nature, and the other aspects, what are they? We find that for our scripture now to qualify as it is divinely revealed, it must be totally accurate in its description of reality, and you'll find that the past, the present, and the future. That's very much important. If you have a scripture and it is saying that it is from Allah's Jal, or it is divine, then it must be very much totally accurate in its description of reality, whether it is in past, whether it's current, present, or even the future. It should be very much accurate in that. And the Quran, it has many stories about the previous prophets and also their peoples. Some of these stories, they have elements in them that can be checked out for their accuracy. So we have to know that this Quran, it also has stories. The story of the previous prophet, the previous people, it has been mentioned in them. So how can we know its accuracy here? We're going to start with one example of the Quran's precision in its historical descriptions is in the story of Prophet Yusuf or Prophet Joseph alayhi salatu wasalam. and he was a person, a prophet who was sold as a slave in Egypt, but he rose to become an important official in the government, which made it possible for him to bring his whole family to live there in honor. And most historians, they agree that this entry of the children of Israel into Egypt, it occurred when the northern half of the country, it was ruled by the Hyksos, and the Semitic invaders, who were the first non-Egyptians to rule that country since the rise of the Old Kingdom. And the Qur'an, it always calls the Egyptian rulers who confronted Moses by the title of Pharaoh. And every Egyptian ruler, he was called by this title starting from the reign of Amenhotep IV in the 14th century before Christ, but not before that. Okay, so Yusuf Assalam, he lived at least 200 years before Amenhotep IV, and the Quran consistently refers to the ruler in Yusuf's time as Al-Malik, and that is the king. And we can see in Surah Yusuf chapter number 12 verse number 50, it says Waqal al-Malikul, the king said. You can see that verse there. So it should be noted that the Bible, it refers to the ruler of Joseph's time as Pharaoh, which was an anachronism inserted by the scribes who wrote the books of the Old Testament centuries after Moses. And this was written in a book which is called Moses and Pharaoh, the Hebrews in Egypt, page number 176. So some critics, they have seized on certain details to try to attack the Quran historical accuracy. And before I go that, we find that this is one of the examples of a miraculous nature of the Quran. Here we mention of the fact that there is a historical description, as we are seeing the story of Prophet Yusuf Wasalam. And here we are talking about the fact that there was a king there, and this king, the Quran, as we know that there was a king, or there was an Egyptian ruler at the time, Moses ﷺ, and he was given the title of Pharaoh. And every Egyptian ruler, we have to know that he was called by this title starting from that reign of Amenhotep IV in that 14th century. They were called like that. Starting from the reign of this Amenhotep IV, there was no people who are called Pharaoh. No, sorry, after the reign of Amenhotep IV in that 14th century, people now, the king, they were now called Pharaoh. Now we find that, but not before that. Before Amenhotep, they are not called Pharaoh. And here we find that Yusuf ﷺ, he lived at what time? He lived 200 years before Amenhotep IV. And the Quran, it refers to that ruler at Yusuf's time as Al-Malik, the king. This itself, it shows one of the miraculous nature of the glorious Quran in the historical description, because you find that after Amenhotep IV, it is what started the word Pharaoh. But in Bible, you find that it's different, and that's why you can see that the Quran, it is the word of Allah Azza wa Jal, and it again shows the fact that the Quran, it has in it miracles. Another thing we have to mention here is that there are some critics who have seized on certain detail now to try to attack the Quran's historical accuracy, and we have seen also this many times by people. And a famous example, it is the statement of her people to Mary. And if you go to Surah Maryam, you can see there. And you find that when he appeared with the baby Jesus before, when she appeared, it is mentioned in Surah Maryam. So there's a famous example. It is that statement of her people to Mary when she appeared with the baby Jesus after giving birth to him in an isolated place. And we go to Surah Maryam, which is chapter number 19, and the verse is number 28. And it says, Ya Uqta Haruna. You can see, O sister of Aaron, Ma kana abukim ra'asaw'in wa ma kanat umuki baghiyah. O sister of Aaron, your father was not an evil man, nor was your mother a prostitute. So these critics now, they argue that that the author confused two. You have to know that this author, he had confused two historical figures, and that is Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Miriam, who was the sister of Aaron. And the confusion here, it is really a result of their ignorance about how the Arabs, they use their language, and the Qur'an refers to prophethood as the brother of Ad, as we can see in Surah Al-Kahf, chapter number 46, verse number 21. We say, وَاذْكُرْ أَخَا عَادٍ إِذْ أَنْذَرَ قَوْمَهُ بِالْأَحْقَافِ, and mention the brother of Ad when he warned his people among the sand dunes. So that is what we can say about the fact that the Arabs now, they refer to the tribes by the patriarch from whom they are descended, and the tribes of Ad, they are descended from a man who was named Ad, and Hud, he was not literally that man's brother, nor was he literally the brother of every member of his tribe, but this is an expression used by the Arab to indicate association with the people. Mary was a descendant of Aaron, and that is why she is referred to as the sister of Aaron. And in a similar usage, the New Testament, it refers to Elizabeth, the mother of John, and the Baptist as a daughter of Aaron, as in Luke chapter 1 verse 5. So we have seen here some of the few aspects of the miraculous nature of the Quran, and we have seen that the fact that people, the critics, they have been saying about this here, that in this Surah Maryam here, that O sister of Aaron, and you mention here that here you have confused the two historical figures, Mary, who was the mother of Jesus, and Miriam, who was the sister of Aaron. And you find that we have to understand that here this is an Arabic Quran, and it is the way how the Arabs they usually talk, and the way their culture was. And that's why when you talk about Mary here, he was a descendant of Aaron, and that is why she is referred to as the sister of Aaron, because I think understanding something like that, yeah. And it also in that one we have mentioned in Luke, also mentioned like that. And also you have to mention the fact that there was here in another verse and mention the brother of Ad, when he warned his people among the sand dunes. And here you find that the tribe of Ad, it was descended from a man who was named Ad. That tribe of Ad was descended from a man who was named Ad, and Hud, he was not literally the man's brother, nor was he literally the brother of every member of this tribe, but this we find that just an expression that is used by the Arabs to indicate association with his people, to indicate an association with the people, the brother of ahd, association with the people. And that is why you find that it has been used like that, and that's why you find that in the sister of Aaron it has been used like that, because of the fact that that is this is just to indicate that it's a descendant of Aaron. Okay, I want to just find that we have finished alhamdulillah this topic in a way that is best, and may Allah accept it from all of us. And you can see that in our last slide we just say Jazakallah Kheir, and may Allah accept it from all of us. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Now inshallah I want to mention the fact that 12 is very much near, and in that case inshallah we are going to soon start our next topic bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And that's why I finish by saying Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وترجو رحمة تسري فعاش القلب إخلاصا وصرت تحوم كالطير تحلق في ثقافات وتنهل من ربى الخير ترى ما زلت تذكرها وتذكر روعة الذكر فيهدي القلب ألحانا شذاها يفوح بالصدر ويصفو العلم راقراقا ويسقي دوحة العمر فيمحو الكون